You tracked revenue, pipeline, headcount, probably got a dashboard somewhere with like 9 or 10 different metrics, all updating in real time. And somewhere in the back of your head, in your brain, you're carrying all of it, always. And there's one variable driving every single one of those numbers, and it doesn't show up in your dashboard. It doesn't show up in board reviews. In fact, most leadership frameworks never even mention it. And here's what makes this particular variable dangerous. When it degrades, everything downstream degrades with it. And not dramatically, it's not obvious, but it's ways that don't even trigger an alarm. It's actually more like, we can rationalize this. We can push past it. Not that big of a deal. Until one day, that gap between who you are and who you're capable of being starts to feel permanent. That variable is leadership stability. And I want you to notice your reaction to that phrase right now. I'm going to say it again. Leadership stability. Because you're probably just had one of two responses. Either it landed as something real, something you felt an absence of, but never really had a name for it, or it felt soft, like a wellness culture or some kind of executive coaching cliche. If you had that second reaction, stay with me because I'm going to get you there really fast. But first, my name is Angus Nelson. I've spent the last 2 decades working with executives and founders at companies like Cisco and FedEx, Bridgestone, Workday. I've also worked alongside hundreds of high growth founders who are navigating these kinds of environments where the pace genuinely doesn't let up. And the most consistent pattern I've found across all of my work is that almost nothing has to do with strategy. These leaders, they're not struggling because they lacked any kind of intelligence or experience. It was something internal that was interfering with their ability to access what they already know. That's that knowledge action gap, the distance between what you know and what you apply. And that's the gap where this channel lives. If that's interesting to you, I invite you to subscribe. And I'm going to put up content every week. And it's designed to compound, to help you be a stable leader. So let me give you the concept that sits underneath this leadership stability. I call it state-dependent leadership. Strategy quality is not fixed, right? It's dynamic. It's not static output of your intelligence or your experience or the quality of your frameworks. It's state-dependent. Same leader, same data, same organization, same decision, but 2 different internal states, 2 meaningfully different outcomes. And decision speed changes, risk calibration changes, your ability to read the room shifts, and you read on people, right? Whether someone's trustworthy, whether it's the real deal, and whether the team is quietly struggling. All of that runs through this filter where your nervous system is doing all this work to define. That's where this leadership stability is. And if your state is impacted, if it is in a tainted kind of state, then you're going to have a different kind of leadership that will not serve you. When the system is regulated, your cognitive functions work. When it's not, even if it's just minutely or mildly, even in ways that you can't even consciously detect, everything downstream degrades. And I want to be specific because I want to tell you what this degradation looks like, because it doesn't look like a crisis. It doesn't even necessarily feel like burnout, or at least not at first. It looks like decisions taking much longer than they should. A faint but persistent friction between you and your own thinking. Maybe you start asking other people, hey, what do you think? What do you think? And you start to offboard all of your responsibility through that decision. I call that decision insurance. That lack of confidence, it's that piece where when you start to live there too long, it starts to feel normal. You know it's happening, but you don't know what to do about it. And your effort to output ratio, that part of it, that stopped making sense somewhere along the way. It's like you're working harder, but you're making less progress. And here's the line I keep coming back to. Our nervous system is treating complexity like danger. And most high performing leaders are operating through this kind of interference every single day, even without recognizing it. It's a categorically problem at hand right now with everything that's going on. So that brings me to 3 questions. And I want you to sit with these rather than blow past them. Take a moment and see how they land with you. Our decisions, this is question number 1, are decisions taking longer than they used to? And again, not dramatically, just longer. Things that used to resolve in minutes now seem to sit for hours. Calls you used to have made like right there on the spot now need a second pass. Now you have a little self-doubt and you need to fully justify the decision. Maybe you revisit decisions after they've been made, not because as new information arrived, not because circumstances change, but that doubt that you have keeps resurfacing. And the third question I have for you is, do you ever feel off? Not sick, not burned out in an obvious way, just operating at something noticeably below where you know you can be. If any of those landed, what you're experiencing has a name, and it's called decision drag. Decision drag isn't a knowledge deficit. It's not analytical failure. It's that state of interference showing up in your output. This is what I was talking about earlier. Your nervous system is carrying a load, a weight. It's subtle enough to kind of evade your awareness, but it's significant enough to slow everything down. And what makes it so hard to catch is how gradually it develops. You don't go from sharp to slow overnight. It's like you adjust, you alter, you start to feel like you're procrastinating. You then start to compensate. And without realizing you're compensating, the loop gets longer and you bring more people in. Hey, what do you think? What do you think? You maybe hire consultants and it gets to feel like, oh, we're all in this. But the only reason that's happening is because you're not in a position to make the decision for yourself. So you gather more input before committing. And after a while, that becomes the baseline. So you've quietly lost access to the memory of what it felt like to decide quickly, to trust the call, to trust your gut, to trust your intuition, to live in your personal power, and then move. So before I keep going, which one of those hits closest for you? Is it slower decisions, revisiting calls you've already made? Is it that vague sense of operating below capacity? Drop it in the comments below. Let me know. And you can do it in a way that doesn't feel like it's putting you out there. I just want to know where people are at right now. If you put that in there, I promise I genuinely read them. I will respond to them. So here's what I want to cover here. Here's where most people get it wrong. When they start to notice these symptoms, the first assumption is that it's a discipline problem. Man, I need to be more productive. I need more tools, more systems. I need more processes. They tighten it all up, tighten up that system, right? They optimize their morning. They build better habits. They run the machine harder and cleaner for the sharpness to come back. You can't engineer that. It doesn't happen. Because the problem isn't the machine. It's the operating environment the machine is running on. And the second assumption is that it's an information problem. The analyzing more carefully, gathering more data, getting more information, being rigorous, also you can add input into the equation with more research, more advisors, more consulting, all of that to come to this analysis. And the data is supposed to make it work. But actually, the data makes it worse. Adding information to a dysregulated nervous system doesn't produce clarity. It produces noise. And when the internal signal to noise ratio is already compromised, more input amplifies the interference, and it never resolves. Now, the third assumption, and this is the one that catches high performers specifically, it's that intensity is the answer. More effort, harder focus, push through it, grind, hustle. This makes sense logically because that's the move that built this success in the first place. Work harder, produce results, and that equation has served itself faithfully for a very long time. It's been reliable. It's a go-to for the last several years. However, with all that's going on in the world, with all that we're facing, the amount of change, the complexity, the geopolitical issues, the financial situations, all those different things are running quietly underneath the surface. So when your performance starts to quietly degrade, the instinct is to reach back for the solution that always worked. And it actually accelerates the problem. So let me wrap it up with this. You don't have a thinking problem. You don't have a discipline problem. You don't have a distortion problem. The internal operating environment that your cognition runs on has accumulated such a load, unresolved, largely invisible. It's all running in the background constantly. So no amount of strategy or effort will resolve a distorted operating environment. You have to address it directly. So what actually addresses it? That's what this channel and my book, Neuro Resilient Leader, are built to answer. Leadership stability is the consistent ability to access clarity under pressure, not just on good days, not when conditions cooperate, but consistently in the room, in the decision, at the moment that it's needed most. And it's not a personality trait. It's not only for some, not for others. It is not something you either have or you don't. You're not born with it. It's structural. It's trainable. There's a framework for building it, and I call it the C3 protocol. And I'll be breaking it down each piece across the coming weeks. You'll find it throughout this channel. You'll also find it in my book. And most leaders I work with, again, they don't need more tactics. They need their mind back, their body regulated, and their presence restored. And once you see it that way, you can't unsee it. And for some reason, you've always known this to be true, which is why before, I'm just reminding you of who you've always been. You're getting back to that person that for whatever reason, you hear this, you see this, and you say, I've always known that to be true. So you've just never given yourself permission to function with it in this current state. So the variable that no one's measuring is the one setting the ceiling on everything else. Now, the book link is below. If you're watching this before May 5th, 2026, we're still in the pre-order window. There's some bonus packages attached, 10-day leadership stability reset protocol, a private audio series where I break down each chapter with context that didn't make it into the final manuscript. There's a live Q&A and there's some other things. These bonuses will go away when the book releases. But if you're past that date and the book is already out there into the world, the full system is all baked in. Everything you need to install is inside that book. In the next video, I'm going to talk about why high performers are the most vulnerable to this kind of quiet degradation, and why the exact traits that built your success are often the accelerants to the problem. So I want to hear from you. What did you recognize in yourself in watching this? What landed? What did you need to hear? Go ahead and put that in the comments. And if this kind of thinking helps you to lead better, again, The invitation is to subscribe. The goal here is simple. This is the mission. 10 million leaders spending 10 minutes a day becoming a 10.0 version of yourself. So decide today if you want to be one of them. I'll see you next time.